how are you doing? I hope you're doing so great. Today we're going to study a new topic, passive voice. So let's start. Active voice and passive voice. Active and passive are two grammatical voices in English. Neither is inherently than the other, but each is suited to certain types of writing. There's a reason why news sounds detached from the stories they're reporting. They often speak using the passive voice. In the active voice, the sentence subject performs the action. The subject of the sentence is always a noun or a pronoun. For example, she likes bird watching. So, in this case, you have an active sentence, a normal sentence, right? With the subject, the verb, and also the complement. Also, you can have her favorite time of the day is twilight. So, this is an active voice sentence, right? No matter what verb you use, structuring your sentence so the subject performs the verb is writing in the active voice, right? So, also you have in the passive voice, the verb acts upon the subject, or to put it in the passive voice, the subject is acted upon by the verb. Every sentence in the passive voice contains two verbs. First, a conjugating form of the verb be. If it is in present, right, you can use is, or are. And if you're using in past, was, were, right? Also, you can use been. Second one, the main verb's past participle, right? You have to use it in past participle. For example, do, don't, or make. You have to write it made, right? Eaten, written, etc. Right? You have to use the past participle of the verbs. Because of this, every sentence in the passive voice also includes a preposition. Often, sentences in the passive voice are longer than sentences in the active voice, simply because they have to include additional words like prepositions. For example, summer break is beloved by students. So in this case, you're using the preposition by, right? And also summer break is. You are using is, that is the conjugated form of to be. And beloved, that is the past participle of the verb. And also by, that is the preposition. The passive voice has a subtler tone that the active voice has. Sometimes your writing needs this tone, like when you want your reader to focus on the action being described or the verb's direct object, which becomes the subject of the sentence, rather than on the noun performing the verb. So, here you have some examples. A car was broken into on Cairo Street last night. Also, cash was stolen from the register. If you notice here, both sentences are in passive voice. Also, active voice grammar structure. While tense is all about time reference, voice describes whether the grammatical subject of a clause performs or receives the action of the verb. For example, here you have the grammar structure, subject plus the verb performed by the subject, and also an optional object. For example, Chester kicked the ball. So, if you notice here, you have the subject, the verb in past, and also the object, the ball. In a passive voice construction, the grammatical subject of the clause receives the action of the verb. So the verb from the above sentence, which is receiving the action, becomes the subject. Passive voice grammar structure. Subject plus some form of the verb to be plus past participle of a transitive verb plus optional prepositional phrase. For example, the ball was kicked by Chester. In this case, you have the ball, that is the subject. Some form of the verb in this case was, that is in past, and also kicked, right? The past participle of the verb. Also, you have the preposition by Chester, right? That last little bit by Chester is a prepositional phrase that tells you who the performer of the action is. But even though Chester is the one doing the kicking, he is no longer the grammatical subject. A passive voice construction can even drop him from the sentence entered. For example, the ball was kicked. So you don't need to use by Chester in this case. Also, there are other ways to write passive voice sentences in many tenses. For example, in simple present, you can have I make a cake. In the passive voice, you have to use the form of the verb to be. In this case, is, because you're talking about the cake. And also, you have to use the verb in past participle. A cake is made. Also in present continuous, I'm making a cake. A cake is being made. Past simple. I made a cake. A cake was made. In this case, you have to use the verb be in past, right? And you have to use the past participle of the verb. Past continuous. I was making a cake. A cake was being made. In this case, when you use past continuous or present continuous, you have to use also being and the verb to be, and also the verb in past participle, right? So a cake was being made. Present perfect. I have made a cake. A cake has been made. So in this case, you have to use also been in this case, because you have to use the verb to be, right? And also the verb in past participle. Past perfect. I had made a cake. A cake had been made. If you want to write it in future, you can use I will make a cake. A cake will be made. Don't forget to use also the form of the verb be. If you want to say it in future with going to, I'm going to make a cake. A cake is going to be made, right? With modal verb, in this case must, I must make a cake. A cake must be made, right? And also with should, I should have made a cake. A cake should have been made, right? So guys, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye bye.